Hello guys, my name is David. I'm a member of Passion Youth Church of the Nazarene here in Fiji. I just want to share a testimony of God's faithfulness in my life over the last few years, 7 years. My testimony begins when I was 14 years old. My parents had the call to go serve in missions, which they obeyed, which led us to move into Papua New Guinea. And I remember the night Dad called the family meeting and he told us that we were going to make this move. I got 4 sisters. And between everybody in that meeting, I cried the most because I didn't want to go. I liked and I enjoyed the life I was living here in Fiji. I had the friends, the school, the neighborhood, the sports that I wanted to play. Everything was already established here in Fiji. I didn't want to go. And that was the first lesson God was going to prepare to teach me. I was too comfortable and He was going to take me out to teach me something else. And there's this saying we have in church, growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. And so moving to PNG, there's never been so much growth in my life over the 5-year periods we lived in PNG than if I had stayed back in Fiji. I believe God was trying to teach me something through my parents. I had no other choice. It's not like I was 14 years old and could buy a house and stay back. But through my parents, having obeyed the call, God was going to teach me something as well. I've grown so much spiritually, in maturity, in relationship with my sisters, with my brother, with my parents, with my friends, with unbelievers. I've grown so much because of the 5 years I spent in PNG. And I just remember when I moved back to Fiji, Dad one time calls me aside as a joke and he says, "Remember the time you cried because you didn't want to go? Now look at you." I didn't want to move back to PNG. I wanted to stay in PNG the rest of the time. And so you would have assumed, oh, this boy here, he's been living in PNG, he's been with other missionaries, maybe his spiritual life is the best, he can read the book from Genesis to Revelation, he knows it all. He's so close to God, he can pray for 3 hours, he can sing any worship or praise song. You might assume that, but that wasn't necessarily the case. Coming back to Fiji, after the 5 years I was in PNG, I believe was when I had my first encounter with God. It wasn't the 5 years, it was the year right after that. And my encounter happened when we had a worship summer that was held in the West, and it was by a different denomination. And I want to say this because sometimes we think it's the denomination, but it's not. It's God. We don't serve denomination, we serve the living God. And so although this was a different denomination, I remember my pastor telling us worship team that we were going to go attend. And it was at this worship summit, I believe, and I actually truly believe, was where I had my first encounter with God, my true encounter with God. And conviction after conviction, God was addressing my heart. Things I needed to change, places I needed to change, places I needed to change from going back to. There was so much that needed changing. Yes, PNG helped in shaping the foundation of my spiritual journey and my life. But the spiritual encounter came in Fiji and I was just getting addressed left, right, and center. Things needed to change in my life. And I can only give God the glory because if it wasn't for PNG and this testimony of coming back to Fiji, I don't think I would be who I am today in my walk with Christ, my journey with Him. And I want to say, by the way, when we were serving in PNG, my sisters and I talked about this a few times. Man, we felt like we were left behind. We felt like we were missing out on the world because we had to be missionary kids. But one thing I learned was it's so fulfilling when you get to serve God. Take it how you like. I don't know how you can take this, but there's fulfillment in serving God. And although the thought of being left behind was always a thought, I never let it take over. And I just want to encourage those of you who probably are still thinking of, do I really want to serve God or should I enjoy life for now and then switch later? I'll tell you there's fulfillment in the power of God and serving Him. That's just my short encouragement and my testimony. For those of you who didn't know that I was a missionary kid, I was. God bless.